What's up, YouTubers? Welcome back to Movie Collector 623 YouTube channel. It's your pal Eddie here, and in this video I'm going to show you my 80 slashers Blu-ray 4K collection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the year 1980. So I'm going to do it in parts. So I'm going to start off with the year 1980, and I'm going to go like the way they were released. The chronological, the way they were released. So I'm going to start off with January of 1980 and moving on till the end of the year. So yeah, let's get this started. Let's get this going. And the very first slasher that was released in 1980. Now, before I begin, really quick, some of the dates might be a little off. Like some movies have two release dates. Like there's some that were released limited, and then they were released again nationwide, or in U.S. in the United States, like 3 months afterwards, or so they might have a different month or so. But I was doing a lot of researching, and yeah, some of them had two different dates, and but the year is the same, so they're all 1980. So the first film that was released in 1980, January, late January, I think it was like January the 30th, was To All the Good Night. This was the very first movie the very first slasher in the 80s that was released, January of 1980. And I guess it was the first holiday theme slasher that was also released in the 80s. So yeah, it's like a lesser known movie. It's directed by David Hess. David Hess came out in Wes Craven's The Last House on the Left. He was one of the thugs. He was one of those guys. So he directed this one. So yeah, I guess it was the very first Christmas slasher. It's low budget. It's like not really well known, but and I think this Blu-ray is out of print. I think this is way out of print. So yeah, To All a Good Night. All right. In March of 1980, we have Don't Go in the House. I know that some dates had it for 1979 as well, but some other dates had it for March, so I didn't know, like, okay, is it 79 or 80? I don't know. So, and I was debating into putting this one because it's not really that I would call a slasher. It's more like a psychological, but it does have slasher elements, here and there. Basically, it's a guy who was burned, by his abusive mother, and he survives for some reason, and he starts to kill women that resemble her with a flamethrower. So yeah, don't go in the house. So all right. In May of 1980, one of the big hitters was released, and it was Friday the 13th. Yeah, what can I say about this one that hasn't been said? Yeah, this one, broke the mold. This one was the one that set everything in motion. This is like, the big daddy of them all, Friday the 13th, the most successful one, of the 80 slashers in this year, 1980. So yeah, Friday the 13th. All right, now this one has two dates as well. So I was like, some of them have March, some of them have May, some of them even had September. So I don't know, but it's Maniac. Yeah, this one, you got Tom Savini, doing the special effects. You got Joe Spinell, who played a very good role. This one is a little different than other slasher films. This one is very twisted, very demented, very sleazy, very grimy. It's graphic, So yeah, Maniac. All right. August of 1980 was released He Knows You're Alone. Now this one, I feel like this one was very inspired by Halloween. It was very inspired by Halloween because the stalking sequences of the killer, the score. It's very Halloweenish, like very Halloweenish. You got a very young Tom Hanks, who makes his debut. So yeah, he knows you're alone. It's pretty good movie. All right, next up, September of 1980 is Schizoid. Yeah, this one was like inspired by the Italian Giallo, so it's kind of like an American Giallo. Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good movie. It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah, it's kind of like it's an American, but inspired by the Italian Giallo, so it's like American Giallo, kind of. So yeah, Schizoid. All right, moving on. This one also had two dates. I mean, some sites had it for July, some of them for September, but it's Prom Night, released I think September of 1980. I think this movie was one of the first to attempt to emulate the Friday the 13th. I don't know. It's kind of like that, but it you got Jamie Lee Curtis. She's started to make a name for herself after Halloween. She did some other horror movies like The Fog, and she did Prom Night, and then there's another one that I will mention later on right now. Another one that she came out on. Yeah, this is okay. I mean, it's kind of like has like a 70s vibe. It's 1980, so it's still still there's 70s. It's like kind of like Saturday Night Fever meets Friday the 13th. You have disco dancing stuff, and the chase sequences are pretty good. I mean, the kills are pretty good. So it's an okay. It's a pretty good slasher. Yeah, Prom Night. All right. Coming in September, we have Mother's Day. Yeah, this is a little bit different. It's a trauma film. Um, it's really on its own. It's something else, but it does have some slasher elements. It's more like a rape revenge type of movie, but it does have a lot of slasher elements. So I decided to include it in here. So yeah, Mother's Day. All right. Moving on, we have October. Now we're going to October. We have Funeral Home. Yeah, this one was actually inspired by Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Who would have thought? Because well, then again, Psycho was very inspirational to the '80s slashers. So yeah, Funeral Home is very much inspired by Psycho. So it's a little slow paced, but it's okay. It's not that bad. All right. Also released in October, we have an Italian kind of Italian with slasher elements, Anthropophagus. Yeah, this one also is very sleazy. It's directed by Joe D'Amato. It's very violent, very gore. It's got it's yeah. This one is not for everybody. Not for everybody. He this is like yeah. It's got the Italian horror. And it but with slasher elements, and it's really tons of blood, gory. Like yeah, Anthropophagus. All right, coming in at number um, more in October. My another Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah, Terror Train. Yeah, this one was released in October of 1980, and you got yeah, this is a good one. The setting, it's on a train. They're having a party. It takes place during New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. So they're wearing costumes, type of costumes, and the killer, every time he kills someone, he dresses up as his victims. He's wearing his costume, his costume. He goes on and you got David Copperfield, a very young David Copperfield right there. And of course, Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah, so this is a fun one. It's a fun movie. Terror Train. All right. More in October. Like you can see that October had a lot of releases. So here's another one was Motel Hell. Now, yeah, this is another one kind of like it's really on its own. It's not really a full blown slasher, but it's got slasher elements. It's its own thing. It's got it's blended with the dark black comedy. It's dark comedy. You got the girl from Porky's. Who Bob Breaker from Porky's. She's pretty good in this. So yeah, Motel Hell. It's a fun one. All right. So another one from October. We have from Australia. We have Nightmares. Yeah, Nightmares. Yeah, this is another kind of a sleazy kind of, something about the foreign films that are more, more violent, more, there's tons of blood, tons like, So yeah, this is from Australia with slasher elements, Nightmares. Oh, by the way, this one also goes by another name, Stage Fright. It also goes by Stage Fright, but don't get it confused with the Italian horror Stage Fright, because there is one Italian film called Stage Fright, but no, this one is Australian, and it goes by Stage Fright as well. But I know it by Nightmares. All right, we got two more. Released in November, we got the second Christmas slasher. It's Christmas Evil. Now, this one to me is more like a psychological, but it's got a lot of slasher kills. So I decided to include it here because it's got a lot of slasher elements. So yeah, this is a good one to watch during the Christmas holidays. So yeah, Christmas Evil. And the last movie that was released in 1980, in December of 1980, is New Year's Evil. So yeah, this one, another holiday slasher, takes place in New Year's Eve. It's also a very different slasher because you can actually see the killer, so you know what he looks like. You're following him around, and he's going from cross country, celebrating New Year's Eve. So there's different time zones. You got Pacific time, Central time, Eastern time. So he goes wherever it's gonna strike midnight, and he does his killing, and then he goes to another state or whatever. It strikes midnight. He strikes with he gets another victim until he goes where he wants to go. So yeah, New Year's Eve, a fun slasher. So yeah, those were it. Those were my uh the movies that I have in my collection that were released in 1980. Now, really quick, I wanted to show two movies which I don't consider them slashers, but I'm gonna show them off. One of them is Fade to Black, and another one is Don't Answer the Phone. These to me are more psychological. They're more psychological horror. I don't really consider these movies slasher films. I mean, yeah, they're more psychological horrors. They don't follow the criteria of a slasher, but maybe to some people they're slashers. I mean, to me, they're more psychological horror. But I just wanted to bring them up. I wanted to mention these two great films. So yeah, that is it, and that was my 80s slasher collection from 1980. So yeah, hopefully you liked the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for more upcoming videos. I will be working on the 1981 releases. So yeah, thanks for watching, and till the next one. See ya.